Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the other videos? Another paid request, this time for Johnny. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. I also have a second YouTube channel. If you want to feel free to subscribe to that. I also have an Odysee channel, so a lot of these videos are being archived onto that website. So, and if you sent in a paid request, I will get to it as soon as I can. But Johnny wanted me to do a commentary on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And I guess kind of fitting since in a few months we're going to have the new Indiana Jones film. Not that we need it, but I have a pause at the beginning. Let's get right into it. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. As a Paramount picture comes up, and sorry, I just set my phone over here as it charges. But yeah, this I would say is my second favorite Indiana Jones film after the first one. The first one, I love the adventure aspect. I love Karen Allen as Marion, Belloc, the whole idea of the Ark of the Covenant, the action scenes, whether it be the truck sequence. But I like all four movies. Yes, I even like the fourth one. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I never thought was as bad as people made it out to be. It has its flaws, a bit too much CG, but I don't think it's as good as the first three, but I always liked it. But I know for the majority of people, they would say this is the final one. And it's true, you only needed three movies, but again, I like the fourth one. I like seeing Marion back, Karen Allen back. I thought Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford handled that well, considering his age. I don't mind Shia LaBeouf. I don't hate him like other people do. But into this, I like Temple of Doom. I didn't even know for the longest time that was a hated movie, but I've always enjoyed Temple of Doom. I like the darker aspects of it. Once again, it has some really good action sequences. I like Short Round, Ke Huy Quan. I like the cult aspect, but this is my second favorite. I love Sean Connery as the dad. I think the father and son angle was refreshing. I think Harrison Ford and Sean Connery worked very well together. I even like this whole opening to show Indy as a kid, and you have a very young River Phoenix. May he rest in peace. Sadly, River Phoenix passed away way too soon. You know, at this point, he had done films like Stand By Me, and would go on to be in films like Sneakers, which I enjoyed, and others, but he just died way too young. And, you know, someone mentioned that if River Phoenix was around, he probably would have been getting the roles that Leonardo DiCaprio was getting, if I learned how to talk. Which I just see, like Leonardo DiCaprio, he's a good actor. I do think River Phoenix would have gotten some of those roles. I mean, I could see River Phoenix working with Scorsese or getting, you know, Inception or some of these other roles. But that's if he cleaned up his act and everything worked out the best, of course, like everything. But I like this backdrop because it kind of crazy that it took the third film to get to the Holy Grail as the artifact. Because that seems natural. That seemed like to be the first bit. Yeah, the Holy Grail, but that just seemed like the perfect fit for Indiana Jones to find the Holy Grail. Of course, here, this is another different artifact. Now, this actor here with the fedora, who's holding the cross, he's actually in Friday the 13th Part 5. I think he's the guy that is running that institution. And I forget the actor's name, but yeah, that guy blowing the air off the... blowing air on the cross. He was in Friday the 13th Part 5. I think this... River Phoenix, I thought, did a good job mimicking well, not mimicking, but trying to feel like a younger Indy. Which makes sense because he worked with Harrison Ford on a film called The Mosquito Coast. The Mosquito Coast was a, I want to say, Peter Weir movie. I could be wrong on the director, but in Mosquito Coast, Harrison Ford played River Phoenix's dad. And this opening where it showcases like how he gets the star on the chin and why he's afraid of snakes. And granted, it's like all this happened the same day. Like all these famous attributes of Indy all happened on the very same day. But I did what they were going for, and it was still fun. And John Williams does another great job. That was cool about the trilogy of movies was that each score had its unique feel to it. You have the classic Raiders of the Lost Ark theme, but Temple of Doom, ba da da na na, da 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 na 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 na, da 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 da, and then this, ba da 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 da, da 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 da, is that he thought of new themes, but they actually were rather good. You could come up with new themes and be not worth a piss in the wind, but in this case, all three fit their films. They fit the movies well, and all three are great, memorable scores. John Williams did a wonderful job with that, and all this done in camera. It's 1989. Again, that's really one of my big gripes of Indy 4 was the amount of CGI and the filters in the backgrounds. Because people are used to this. Like, this is a real person, real horse, real train, getting on the train. This is an ode to those serials from the 30s and 40s. Which makes sense. Nice wide shot to show they're on a real train, and this is real people doing this. There's a real sense of danger as you get to the reptile cage. And of course, the snakes are around here. See, nowadays that'd be like a CGI snake pit. Honestly, I just see River Phoenix trying to have those type of Harrison Ford mannerisms. I thought he did a very good, capable job of that. And of course, you had the young Indiana Jones adventures that would come about, which I mean was fine. I'm not huge on it. I prefer it the way it's done here. That guy, I swear, looks familiar. Who's trying to stab Indy? I don't remember his name, but I swear he looks familiar. But that was like some really cool, like how they did that with the rhino. How they did all that. Nice stunt work there. And fall on his butt, kind of like he did in the first film, where he got punched from the big bald guy and fell on his butt. And here, him utilizing the whip, and he's going to get his star, which is a real star Harrison Ford has on his chin. And throughout these, yes, there are industrial light and magic effects, but there's a lot more real practical stuff done. Like nowadays, they would just have a CGI lion, and it would just look fake and phony. But that's a real lion. It sells the scene so much better. It sells the scene much more. Like that's a real damn lion. You can't get more real than real. It belongs in a museum. That's exactly how Indy would react. Like I said, throughout the years as a kid, I would watch these films back to back to back. They might have all been on the same VHS tape. I don't know because they're pretty lengthy. They're over 2 hours long, and usually at most you get like 6 hours. So I bet it might have been like two on one and one on another. But back to the days of VHS tape, and you could get a blank tape, and if you need to put a piece of Scotch tape on the end and have two VCRs and rent one and record the other. Kind of interesting that this guy has a smile on his face, like maybe it reminds him of himself when he was younger or something else to that effect. As he says, "You got spunked, kid," and gives him the hat. There's the dog that he's named after. "You're named after the dog." I like that dog. And this gives a hint of this friction between father and son where maybe they didn't have the best bond with each other. There's the diary that comes into important play later. But yeah, I saw these movies back in the day when I was a kid and enjoyed the adventure aspect, and I was always more into Indiana Jones than, say, Star Wars. I like the Star Wars films. I liked all three of them. But I probably watched Indiana Jones trilogy 10 times more over than the Star Wars trilogy. Just Indiana Jones trilogy just appealed to me more. I like Harrison Ford's role more. I like Han Solo, but I like Indy more. I like the adventure aspect more. The adventure, the excitement, the action, just looking for treasure. I think it's almost that weird kind of wish fulfillment of you lost today, kid. Doesn't mean you have to like it. So he doesn't say you got spunked, kid. He said another thing. And the transition to Harrison Ford. 1938. But yeah, I always enjoyed these films, these adventure aspect. And when I think of Harrison Ford, I always think of Indiana Jones. It's my favorite character of his. I like other, I like other Harrison Ford films. The Fugitive, Air Force One, Regarding Henry. But whenever I think of action, for Harrison Ford, I think of Indiana Jones. So do you. And this is like all the effort and time. Like you have to have a boat, you have to make it move, so it's like riding the waves. Like all this water, you got to cascade on your actors. Yeah, make sure it's careful enough so that someone doesn't get hurt. Like a wave gets too impactful or too harsh and messes up someone. And yeah, this came out in 1989. I mean, this came out in such a crazy summer because the same summer you had Lethal Weapon 2, you had Ghostbusters 2, you had a James Bond film, License to Kill, you had Batman, 1989, you had Back to the Future Part 2. You had such a huge amount of movies coming out, and you can easily see that some would gobble others up, but this was rather successful. And like a lot of people would say, it was the end of the trilogy, that all you needed was three films, and this was the final one. But again, for me, I like the fourth one. The fifth one's not needed. I'm sure we'll get into that in a bit. Fact, not truth. Only X does mark the spot, as he finds out later on. And this is also nice in the second film. You got Denholm Elliott returning, who was in the first movie. You got John Rhys Davies, Salah, returning from the first movie. And then again, the addition of his dad. I did always think it was. I mean, I like Temple of Doom. I don't really know why they made it a prequel. Just kind of arbitrary. But, I mean, it's not a big deal. I just kind of one of those, well, I guess maybe it's like, hey, Marion and them are together, so this is what happens before. I don't know. It just kind of seemed random, though, to make it a trilogy. I mean, not but to make the second one a prequel. Damn, all the women just want to. Well, all the guys, too. I'm trying to remember why there's a big old group gathering. Is it because they know who he is and he's an adventurer? Is it something about great in the papers? I can't remember. No wonder he wants to escape. Get the hell out of Dodge. He's like, fuck this. I'm going. But yeah, Temple, like I said, Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite, always been. Temple of Doom, I never knew was that hated. I mean, yeah, Willie Scott can get on your nerves and can be a bit aggravating. I can, trust me on that, I get that. But at the same time, I, I, I don't mind Kate Capshaw. I just still enjoy her performance, but I get what people are coming from. Even I'm like, there are times she's a bit much. But like I said, I like the short round character. I think it has some really exciting action scenes. I love the darkness of the cult, the thuddy cult, and the eating of brains, and Indy being evil for a bit, and the minecart stuff, and kids being used for their. I mean, he's got people's hearts being ripped out for crying out loud. I like that change in direction. But I guess even Spielberg, he thought it was too dark. I don't know. I mean, I liked the different aspect. And then this one, again, you're going for another religious artifact, in this case, the Holy Grail, but the dynamic with him and his father makes it a bit different. Doesn't feel like the same movie as the first. And the fourth one I saw in the theater. The fourth one I saw in 2008 in the theater and really enjoyed it. Had a fun time. It was nice to see Indy again. I still liked a lot of the action scenes. It was still a lot of fun. Yes, there's too much CGI. The alien stuff didn't bother me because, I mean, if I can buy a knight living in a cave for 1,000 years, but aliens are too much, that's just kind of, I don't know, that's kind of strange. Like, well, aliens are too ridiculous, but a guy in a cave for 1,000 years, that makes sense. What? You know, Ark of the Covenant to open up and people's heads blow up and melt, that makes sense. That's perfectly fine. That's acceptable. But aliens, that's too much. What? I don't know, that just strange. I never understood that argument. Never understood it. They're both ridiculous. It's about finding an artifact. I mean, plus it makes sense. It was the 1950s. There was a nod to that. I never thought it was as again. Never understood the problem people had with that. Never did. And then the fifth one's not needed, as they're talking about this Grail tablet. The fifth one's not needed. The Dial of Destiny, number one, I think is an awful title. Like Tears of the Crystal Skull, I think is a cool title. The Dial of Destiny feels like dial 1-800. I don't give a shit. I don't. 1-800. I don't care. Dial that number. Dial a clue. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Clue. At this point, Harrison Ford is too old. He's 80 to 90 years old. He's too old. I like him as an actor. It just, you can't do anything. There's a limit to anybody and everything. Age catches up with everybody. That's just how it is. No fault of Harrison Ford, just that's how it is. And so, yes, I know. All these films, there's always going to be stunt doubles. Hell, the great scene in the first film, with him being under the truck and being dragged, other than some up-close shots, a lot of it's done by another person. I think it's the guy who directed Dolph Lundgren's Army of One, was the guy who doubled for Harrison Ford. Victor Armstrong, I believe. Yes, I know there are people that double him, but this is going to be to an insane amount. These are even a bit like Harrison Ford's on a horse, and you could tell that's not him on a horse. They like CGI his face onto this rider of a horse. They're like, come on now. Come on. And it's like, come on, this guy's like 80-some years old. You're treating me like a fool. You're treating me like an idiot to buy that he could do all this. Don't treat me like a fool, movie. And all the elements of the stories that's heard about, nothing sounds that enticing. I don't want to see my heroes get old like that. I don't understand this fascination of seeing the last days of our heroes. Let them live forever in youth and energy and cinema. But it's like, it's always got to come up to Ellen Ripley getting killed off, and Hickson Newt. William Shatner's Captain Kirk is killed off. Was it Picard? Then he died. Then he's like a robot body. Where the hell? In Picard? Where the hell? Data they killed off, and that's a damn android, Han Solo they killed off. Luke Skywalker they killed off. Princess Leia they killed off because Sally Carrie Fisher died in real life. How many characters in the Scream films got killed off? How many, Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode got killed off, and Halloween H2O. It always to lead up to people getting killed off. That's why I'm surprised they didn't do that to Rambo and Rambo Last Blood. I'm glad they didn't. Don't be surprised in these Creed movies you find out that Rocky character has been killed off. Maybe not in Creed 3, but I don't know. I know it's getting a bit darker, but hey, it fits the mood and watch it, my mood now, talking about Indiana Jones 5. It's not needed, it's not wanted. I don't care. I really don't care to see that. I find it weird that he would have any doubt about this because he found the Ark of the Covenant. I know he didn't see it, but he believed enough to say, close your eyes, keep them shut, because he knows if you don't, we're all going to die. And then he opens his eyes and everybody's gone. Like this arc swallowed a whole army up. Think about that. Think of the stuff Indy has seen by this point. He heard a whole army being swallowed up by a damn ark of the Covenant. He saw people get their hearts ripped out, but they're still alive, and magic stones. But he's having a hard time believing the Holy Grail. I mean, come on now, man. Why are you having a hard time believing in that? So he got the diary from his dad. The search for the Holy Grail. Doesn't know where his father's at. Yeah, that classic map system. Was this video game? The map. Kind of a nice, cool type of transition they had since the first movie. They go to Venice. Venice, Italy. And let me pause and I'll be right back. Sorry about that, I had to take care of something, but I'm paused at 25 minutes and 35 seconds for those following along. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. As Indiana Jones and Marcus Brody are in Venice right now. And we meet Allison Doody, which I don't remember what else she's gone on to do. Very beautiful lady. I think I saw her in one other movie she was in, but I cannot for the life of me remember the name of it. I mean, I got my phone here so I could look it up. Okay. It's 8.2 on IMDb, so it's definitely... I'm not alone in enjoying the film. Allison Doody, let me see. Oh yeah, she was in that film RRR that a lot of people enjoyed. That's the Indian action film a lot of people loved. I did not. And then a lot of people were mad at me about it. She was also in Major League 2. Oh, she was the Bond girl in A View to a Kill? Bond girl Jenny. I don't say the Bond girl is Tanya Roberts, but I guess she was another. One of Mayday's assistants who's often seen. Okay. So she's someone that worked with Grace Jones's character. Okay. Let me look at this. Due to his commitment to the film, the director had to drop out of directing Big and Rain Man. George Lucas initially suggested making the film a haunted mansion movie, and Romancing the Stone writer Diane Thomas wrote a script. Spielberg rejected it because he just produced Poltergeist. Lucas first introduced the Holy Grail in an idea for the film's prologue, which was to be set in Scotland. He intended the Grail to have a pagan basis, with the rest of the film revolving around a separate Christian artifact in Africa. Spielberg did not care for the Grail idea. Thought that was esoteric? Too esoteric? That's strange. Lucas completed an 8-page treatment entitled Indiana Jones and the Monkey King, battling a ghost in Scotland before finding the founding youth in Africa. Jesus. You think Tim Crystal Skull's bad? Look at that idea. Ghost in Scotland. Chris Columbus was hired to write the script. It begins in 1937 with Indiana battling the murderous ghost of Baron Seagrove III in Scotland. Indiana travels to Mozambique to aid Dr. Clare, a Katharine Hepburn type, who has found a 200-year-old pygmy. The pygmy is kidnapped by the Nazis during a boat chase, and Indiana, Clare, and another old friend of Indiana travel up the Zambezi River to rescue him. Indiana is killed in the climactic battle, but resurrected by the Munty team. You also have a cannibalistic African tribe, a Nazi sergeant who has a mechanical arm, Betsy, a stowaway stew who's in love with Indiana, and a pirate leader who is a Toshiro Mifune type, who dies eating a peach because he's not pure of heart. This sounds god-awful, man. I'm glad we got this. I always like that gag where the guy's the stamp, and he's like, what the hell? That's marks the spot. God, this would have been horrible. Spielberg suggested introducing Indiana's father. Spielberg convinced him that the father-son relationship would serve as a great metaphor in Indiana's search for the artifact. And Spielberg was right. Spielberg had the right decision. Spielberg is the reason why this film worked. So pretty much it goes into just a lot of revisions, a lot of rewrites. Production began May 16, 1988. Some of it was filmed in West Germany. Filmed for the Castle Interiors took place in the United Kingdom. Shooting in Venice took place August 8. Yeah, a lot of background on this stuff. The film's teaser debuted in November 1988 with Scrooge and the Naked Gun. Rob McGregor wrote the tie-in novelization. It sold enough copies to be included on the New York Times bestseller list. No toys were made to promote the film. Indiana Jones never happened on the toy level, said the senior editor of the journal Children's Business. Instead, they sold tie-in fedoras, shirts, jackets, and watches. There's 2 video games. Indiana Jones' Last Crusade graphic adventure, Indiana Jones' Last Crusade the action game. A 3rd game was produced by Taito, released in 91 for NES. Actually, there's 2 NES versions, and both of them I thought sucked. May 24, 1989. Grossed $197 million in the US and Canada, $474 million worldwide. Film was the 11th highest grossing film of all time, and it became the highest grossing film worldwide in 1989 despite competition from Batman. In North America, Batman took top position. Here we bit the bits with the rats. Actual rat. Nowadays, God, now it's getting darker, so I better get the light on. See, nowadays those rats would be CGI, which is ridiculous to me, but that's the world of today. Some say it's to keep the rats safe. But these rats are safe. And they're using... You get people that know what they're doing. That's the problem. You need to get people know what the hell they're doing. If you get people know what they're doing, then you have no issues with it. Get handlers that know their jobs. Yeah, the rats, I wouldn't be around there with all these rats, but Yeah, these canals with all the skulls and stuff. It kind of reminds me of in France. There's a movie called As Above, So Below, and there's the canals with all the skeletons and skulls, like a real life underground tunnel. While here you got all these caskets. I don't know why I didn't. Ever since I was a kid, the whole thing about searching for buried treasure or searching for an artifact and the secret clues and the discovery adventure just appealing to me. It just appealed to a lot of kids. Because you're in a place where you're maybe bored or you see the same stuff every day, 24 hours a day, and you want to see excitement, danger, but at the same time you don't really want to be in danger, so you live vicariously through these movies. You always wanted an adventure like the Goonies, as long as you don't die. And not just the Goonies, but this stuff and then others. I even enjoy like Firewalker with Chuck Norris, Teen Solomon's Mines with Richard Chamberlain. And even like The Rundown with The Rock I enjoy, and National Treasure films I don't mind. I didn't see The Lost City. I haven't seen that one with Sandra Bullock. So that's fake rats with that fire. You look on the bottom, it's like fake rats that put. Understandably so. You don't want to burn up real rats. So you have like fake plastic. I don't know what they were made of, but they only moved because they're bobbling in the water. Don't wander off. How the hell is she don't wander off? But I'm trying to think. Well, don't be too horrified. It's just two people. It's not like it's a damn gator coming out of the damn manhole or Ninja Turtle. Let's see, the music by John Williams fits the scene well, and you have all that scene in the cave, then you have the pretty cool boat chase. And also, like, okay, Indiana Jones, we haven't really seen anything done with boats yet, so that makes it a bit different, unique. We saw stuff done with the truck, and in the first film, the mine car in the second film. So I deal with a boat here. You have action scenes that don't seem typical or don't seem you're repeating yourself. Also make them worthwhile and exciting. Some nice angles used, both at the front and back of the boat. Nice wide shots to get a sense of the geography. Miscommunication. They both mean the same way, but they said it a different way. Boom. I also love the sound effects, like the punches. The punches always had that thunderous crack. Boom, boom. That was since the first movie. I love those type of sound effects on the punches. Yes, I know it's not realistic. It's like the Rocky films. But they fit well, and they fit well as a film, as cinema. This is a cool stunt. Not stunt, but a cool effect. The boat remains right there. Boom. Like right past the camera. Can you imagine if it stuck to target and went right towards the camera? This is a fun boat chase. And this is one of my favorite pieces of the music coming up. with the propeller, and they're having the fist fight. That ba da na ba 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 da na da na na da na na da na na. Yeah, this right here with him flipping the guy over. I was something about that. I really get the excitement, the adrenaline bubbling. And look, this people in the real shot, and this damn propeller fuck up this thing to bits. And there's an explosion here, right? Did it explode? Yeah, right there. Like, that's Harrison Ford in the same frame. Like, you see that's Harrison Ford in the same frame. That's just, it sells it so well. But it's not something that people think about. It's just, they see him, they see it, like, ooh, shit. And then you think about it, it's like, wow, that is a pretty dangerous bit there. You have to have a lot of control with how the boat is destroyed. Will a splinter come and hit someone in the eye, hit someone in the face, blind someone? You know, you never know. Brotherhood to keep the Grail's secret safe. This guy just happens to know where the father is. Like, you know what? How about you ask me first before trying to kill me, dude? It's like, why didn't you ask? Just ask me. Like, dude, if you just come up and asked me, I'm looking for my father. Oh, your father's here at this place. Blah, blah, blah. Would have saved a whole lot of headache. Would have saved a whole lot of trouble, wouldn't it? And some of your men died. Again, communication is important. Just, if you just ask the question, hey, what do you want? I'm looking for my dad. Okay, he's in this castle. Okay, goodbye. Would have saved a lot of time and death. Just saying. Alexandretta. So the dad had the map of where to go, but he didn't know where to start. And now he knows where to start. Now you have the stuff with Alice and Duty. I would say of the main three, because the fourth was Marion again. As much as Kate Capshaw has moments of irritance, I still in a way liked her more than Alison Duty. Not that Alison Duty's bad. She's fine and she's beautiful. It's just when Kate Capshaw wasn't streaming, I liked her personality and her kind of. It had a different vibe between her and Indy. This kind of. I don't know, just a different, interesting vibe to the two of them. Like she wants to let him like she wants to let him ravage her, but then she doesn't. But then she does, and maybe because yeah, I don't know. As I said, Kate Capshaw has her moments of irritance, but the same, and just a bit much with the Indy. But then at the same time, you know, when it works, I think it works rather well. Like I say, Hours on Duty is fine. It's just kind of. Let's say she's fine. It just I didn't think there was anything like special. I don't like fast women. Maybe I'm just projecting that because we found out that she's a turncoat working for the bad guys. So maybe that's part of me projecting that on to her. And it does have a bit of that James Bond vibe, and from what I understand, like the reason he did Raiders of the Lost Ark to begin with, Steven Spielberg, was because he wanted to do a James Bond film. Like he really wanted to do a James Bond film, but they pretty much said no, no Americans can direct James Bond. That's the way they seem to make it out to be. Like no Americans can direct James Bond. Like we don't want any outsiders. Which I'm like, okay, well that's kind of weird, but whatever. So George Lucas then had this idea, like, why don't we do this, and that came into play. But which was cool. I don't know why I always laugh at the accent Harrison Ford's giving with this. You love the tapestries. Just something about that just always made me laugh. How dare he? And literally gives like a fucking bitch smack on the guy. Of course, Nazis once again. That was also kind of interesting for the fourth film, though. Okay, now we have Russians, so it's not just the Nazis yet again. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, the VHS tape. I remember. Yeah, it was for this film. There was a Diet Coke commercial. You can find this on YouTube. Type in Diet Coke Indiana Jones. It is a very highly budgeted commercial because the couple are watching Indiana Jones and they're watching this film on VHS tape. And as they're watching this on VHS tape, the girl goes off to the fridge and open it up and to get a Diet Coke. But then the room starts shaking. I can't show it, but here comes Sean Connery. Junior. Becomes even more. This movie kicks up even more of a notch. I love the back and forth between these two. I think Sean Connery does a really good job. Speaking of James Bond, yeah, I can't show it because it was a commercial, so you think that's the whole purpose to be shown, but like the commercial is like 2 minutes long. So yeah, the girls trying to. Actually, they're watching footage from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I think there's footage from other movies as well. So like the girl almost gets impaled by spears. Another scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. But I know this was on the VHS for Last Crusade. Then there's a bunch of snakes. And there's like a snake above her. She doesn't yell out for help. I don't know why she doesn't. Someone looking like Indy has her swing to the fridge. And then you have the Last Crusade. Choose wisely. Between Diet Coke and whatever the other soda is. The whole room is shaking. Like, there's a lot of effort put in this. The whole room is shaking. It's this wide shot where the floor's breaking away like the end of Last Crusade. And the whole set is like being split apart and things are exploding. Like, this is a crazy commercial. They jump over. And Indy saves her and saves the Diet Coke. I think like throws her and she slides with the Diet Coke underneath the sliding door. It's like, which version of the movie this guy's watching? He's watching from Raiders of the Lost Ark to Last Crusade in one movie. Just for the taste of it, Diet Coke. That I remember from way back in the day, man. That just really takes me back. I know there's a Batman commercial for Diet Coke as well. Like, they really try to have some budgets on these commercials. Of course, is when he finds out you didn't bring the diary with you. You did. Should have mailed it to the Marx Brothers. Who's going to save you, Junior? I told you. There he goes, kicking ass, taking names. Don't call me Junior. And then Sean's like, look what you did. Very different role for Sean Connery as well. Because when you think of Sean Connery, you think of, you think of James Bond, the cool, badass guy, tough guy. Even, Outland, which is my favorite Sean Connery film, Outland. The Rock. Very different role where he doesn't know how to handle. He's not a fighter. He's not a James Bond cool. Like, he's a bit nerdy. He knows a lot about this platitudes of the Grail. A scholar. I wouldn't call him naive. He's just not. He's not used to this excitement and adventure. She'll listen to the dad. That's what you get. Poontang pie didn't work out for you today, Indy. I'm sorry. And speaking of which, for not to trust, how do you know she was a Nazi? She tossed in her sleep. Just the idea of, wait, you slept with her too? Keep up with the Joneses. I think that was the marketing. Donovan. Well, he'll do his comeuppance later on. He'll choose poorly. Yeah, pagers are torn out. To Marcus. I always love the edit where he builds up Marcus and how adamant he is and how talented he is. It cuts to Marcus doesn't know what the hell he's doing. That's a fun edit. Bro's got friends in every town and village, from here to the Sudan. He speaks a dozen languages, knows every local custom. He'll blend in, disappear. You'll never see him again. With any luck, he's got the grail already. Cut to... He don't know squat. And you got Salah coming in, John Rhys Davies, but then he just... Brody gets caught pretty quickly. Now, Denholm Elliott, he had been in a lot of films. I think he was in Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. And then John Rhys Davies, like, Raiders of the Lost Ark, he was in. Nice to see him back to Salah. And he'll be in the new one. John Rhys Davies was in a lot of films after that. He was in King Solomon's Mines with Richard Chamberlain. He was in Firewalker with Chuck Norris. I'm sure that's one of the reasons he got hired, because of his connection with Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm stopping a bit because I love this bit too. He's telling the guy, run. He's like, run. Run. And Mark Brody just don't get it. Run! Punches him right through the... Not even like punches with the newspaper. And as quickly he goes in here, and quickly he's caught, and boom. Yeah, John Rhys Davies would later be on that TV show Sliders. He'd be in films like The Unnameable 2, The Statement of Randolph Carter. He'd been in a few other films as well. And always liked him. Always a nice asset to have for a movie. Good actor. Didn't get to star in a lot. I can't even think if there's a single movie that he starred in. Now I think about it. Is there a movie that he was like the main focus and main star, whether it be a drama or a thriller? Because he's a good actor, but I don't think he's ever had a starring role, which is too bad. But yeah, this was the end of the... End of a... like the way Sean Connery acts and Harrison Ford has a look like, what the hell? Dre, remind me more that you were with my dad. Was it, this is how we say goodbye in Austria? And then there's like, this house we say goodbye in Germany. I guess, this mansion bit is probably the closest you get to the haunted mansion that George Lucas originally wanted. Well, she didn't need a haunted mansion type of thing. Marcus got lost once in his own museum. But yeah, I mean, nowadays you don't see a lot of these type of adventure movies made. I mean, let's say you have The Lost City, which I haven't seen. They're doing the new Indiana Jones film. Can't remember what else has come out recently. That type of adventure. I guess Jumanji films, the Jumanji sequels. He accidentally started the damn fire. The room's on fire. The roof floor's on fire. And the chair. Like I said, very different type of Sean Connery role. It was sad that he didn't come back for the fourth one. I get it. He was retired at that point. He's like, nah. It still would have been nice to see him one more time. I think that would have been nice to. Listen, it would have been nice one more time to. At least it would have been nice to see him one more time, but sadly Sean Connery's passed away, and pretty much the last film he really did was what, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I mean, I think he did a voice in some movie or something, but I mean, like on camera, that was the last of it. That's a good wide shot, showing just how much this room is on fire, and no CGI fire. No, let's put CGI here a little bit. No, don't do that at all. You ruin the effect. Our situation is not improved. Oh shit. There's some bad shots with stormtrooper training. Went to stormtrooper school for the damn aiming of those shots. What the hell? Sorry, now I'm just watching the film. Sorry about that. Now I'm just watching the flick. Want to see if I can find any info on the trivia. Let's see. Harrison Ford did many of his own stunts. Victor Armstrong had to pull Ford to one side and asked him to let him do some work because Ford was doing so much of the action himself. If he wasn't such a great actor, he would have made a really great stuntman. Harrison Ford nominated River Phoenix to play him as a teen, having worked with him before on Mosquito Coast. "2,000 rats were bred for the production." Harrison Ford cut his chin in a car accident in Southern California when he was about 20 years old. And then in the movie they explain how Indy got it with the whip. This is another fun scene with the motorcycle bit. Taking these guys out one by one. Again, Yeah, not really seen anything with motorcycle before in the previous two films. So what's an action scene that we haven't seen before, but could be also potentially exciting? So here we go. Spielberg says he made this for two reasons: to fulfill a three-movie obligation he made with George Lucas, to atone for the criticism he received for Temple of Doom. Well, Temple of Doom's a damn good movie. Sorry, dude. Ooh, nice. Nice joust there. Nice stunt there, dude, and flipped over with the motorcycle. It's not easy. Okay, you gotta go on a motorcycle and make sure you gotta flip yourself over and don't kill yourself, don't break your neck or anything. You have to land the right way. But this is my favorite bit in the scene is this here with just how this bike flips. Look at that. Boom. That's a great like crowd pleasing scene. And he's laughing, but Shonkar's like, don't do that. Again, that sort of father and son dynamic again. And this is their argument on where to go. Three challenges, three booby traps. I found the clues that will safely take us through. What are they? I don't know. You can't remember? That's why I wrote in the diary. I do like Sean Connery's delivery of this line coming up after he does his slap. It's a race against evil. If it's captured by the Nazis, the armies of darkness will march over the face of the earth. Do you understand me? Hmm. You get a little bit of backstory about their mom. That there was his mom, that there was an illness and she didn't tell him about the illness and all that. And they don't go to Berlin. Which makes me wonder with how PC today, are they going to try to eliminate Hitler from this movie? Like, take him, edit him out? Sorry, you can't show it. Well, it's a real person. And nope, sorry, you can't. This is too mean. Too out of the safety bubble. Pretty massive crowd they got. I think they talk about it in this trivia. Most of the uniforms are authentic World War II uniforms, not replicas. Cache of all uniforms was found in Germany, obtained by costume designer Anthony Powell. Steven Steven Spielberg had all the extras who did the Nazi salute simultaneously put their other arm behind their back and cross their fingers. Apparently, this is Spielberg's favorite Indiana Jones movie. Tom Stoppard was paid $120,000 to rewrite dialogue, specifically the lines for Henry and the Henry Indiana Exchange. After the movie's release and success, he was paid another $1 million as a bonus. In the oral history of The Last Crusade, an article published in 2006, Spielberg said, "The junior and senior conversations. It was an emotional story, but I didn't want to get too sentimental. Their disconnection from each other was the basis for a lot of comedy. I gave Tom Stoppard, who was uncredited, a lot to write. Tom is pretty much responsible for every line of dialogue." Huh. Interesting. The guy in the beginning with the fedora that I said was in Friday the 13th Part 5, that guy's Richard Young. Spielberg always wanted Sean Connery. If that failed, Gregory Peck or John Pertwee were backup choices. Up there's the moment. Indy meets Hitler. Denholm Elliott had been diagnosed with AIDS shortly before filming began and was seriously ill on various production days. I didn't know that. That's sad. Let's see. For the close-up of the rhino that strikes at the beginning of the film, a foam and fiberglass animatronic was made in London. The product was sent to John Carl Beekler in L.A., who resculpted it over 3 days to blink, snarl, snort, and wiggle its ears. The giraffes were also created in London. Apparently, the tank later on broke down twice. The rotor arm broke and a replacement had to be sourced. Then two of the device's valves used to cool the oil exploded when solder melted and mixed with the oil. Sean Connery accepted a role in The Hunt for Red October, while Ford declined the role of Jack Ryan, which went on to Alec Baldwin. Ford and Connery declined the role of Alan Grant and John Hammond in Jurassic Park. Connery declined to come back from retirement to reprise Henry Jones Jr. Sr. and Crystal Skull. Guten Tag. Little smack. Get your ass out of here and throw you in the laundry. The dirty. No ticket. They're gonna know about their ticket now. Spielberg was confronted with the problem that Sean Connery and Harrison Ford were only 12 years apart. So the crew had to ensure that Sean always had a white beard to make him appear much older and have slower, contemplative movements, while Harrison had to remain clean-shaven to make him appear younger and quicker, more active movements. So. Sorry, I was just looking through this. And Jeffrey Boehm wrote a draft set in 1939. The prologue had adult Indiana retrieving an Aztec relic for a museum curator in Mexico and featured the circus train. Henry and Elsa were searching for the Grail on behalf of the Chandler Foundation before Henry went missing. The character Tazim was named Kamel and was an agent of the Republic of Hatay, who sought the Grail for its own. Kamel shot Henry and died drinking from the wrong chalice. The Grail Knight battled Indiana on horseback, and Vogel was crushed by a boulder while stealing the Grail. In his second draft, Indiana's mother dismissed Indiana when he returned home with the cross of Coronado, while his father was on a long-distance call. The Chandler Foundation was featured, but was not the main. Walter Chandler was not the main villain. He plunged to his death in the tank. Elsa introduced Indiana and Brody to a large Venetian family that knew Henry. Vogel was beheaded by the traps guarding the Grail. Kamal tried to blow up the Grail Temple during a comet fight in which gunpowder was repeatedly lit and extinguished. Elsa shot Henry, then died drinking from the wrong Grail. Indiana rescued his father from falling to the chasm while grasping for the Grail. Yeah, I like the way he was in here better. Let's see. Apparently there was some stuff cut out. The one guy's death collapsed in Alison Duty's arms and slid down her body. After grabbing him, she pulls her hands back to find them covered with blood. Shot never managed to achieve the impact Spielberg wanted, and he finally dropped it. After surviving the tank battle, Indiana and his company witnessed an explosion in the distance. The Nazis are blasting a wider entrance through the canyon. This scene was part of a larger cut story element about the Grail Temple being hidden past a narrow chasm. This also explained how it would go undiscovered for so long. Since Henry has a copy of the map to the canyon in his diary, this transitional scene was considered unnecessary. The second challenge in the Grail Temple was first planned to have tarantulas hidden under each wrong letter. Indiana is shown being menaced by a tarantula crawling up his body after stepping on the J. While in post-production, Spielberg decided the scene didn't have the impact for which he was looking. He came up with the chasm under the stone tablets. Well, yeah, I mean, unless the tarantulas are poisonous. And Henry actually fucked up their plane. And he blames it on the bad guy, too. He says, "I'm sorry, son. They got us." He blames it on them because he doesn't admit he screwed up. See, that's what I'm talking about with the pacing. It's just like, man, when it goes, and it just from it's deep in, it's the fire room and it's deep in the castle to the motorcycle bit, even the fun bit punching the guy off the Zeppelin, to now this bit here with the plane. Fly, yes. Land, no. Happens to be all the time. Happens to be all the time. There you go. Love that. Happens to be all the time. Oh man. And then you have this bit with the car and the plane crashing through the tunnel. That's a nice shot, the plane right behind the truck. That is a really cool looking shot. Nice wide shots to show them both in the same frame. Again, when people want to talk about Newt the Fridge, because this scene is so realistic, right? This scene, there's never been crazy scenes in Indiana Jones. Oh my God! Yeah, the damn plane crash, slide right by the side and blow up in front of him. Nothing crazy's ever happened. It's a documentary. It's all realistic. Nothing crazy, you know. You didn't have a guy and a kid and a girl fly off a plane in a small raft that flies like 8 miles down to land on a mountain, go off a cliff and land a few other more miles down, and that never happens. Never, ever, ever. Give me a break. It's fun. It's entertaining. Finally, Sean Connery gets, chance to shine. Use his wits. Ooh. Completely just annihilated. Got him. With the rocks in the trees and the birds in the sky. And Indy can't help but be impressed. That's my dad. Yeah, that is the essential thing that made this film work, was the father and son story. Worked so well. So well. Love it. Again, they did a great job with that dynamic. Oh yeah, the money doesn't interest him, but the cars do. I thought this kind of nice little detail. Not detail, but gold don't mean squat, but the cars are interesting to me. Camels, horses, armed escort, provisions, desert vehicles, and tanks. All that for just one fucking car? That's a hell of a deal. Like, here's a car, now give me like half your fucking military force. Do you imagine if I sell a car to the fucking US Army and I want a fighter jet, I want a tank, and I want 50 people your National Guard for a 1958 Plymouth Fury. Like, damn. Damn, damn, damn. Sorry, I'll be right back. And sorry about that. I had to get something taken care of. And busy day today. But I'm paused at 1 hour and 23 minutes and 40 seconds. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. As the tank is rolling out. And yeah, what we'll get into doesn't seem too long between the action sequences, so definitely keeps the plot, the pacing going. Because you don't have the whole bit with Indy hanging off of the side of the tank and then battling on top of the tank, and finally get into the finale with the 3 challenges and so forth. There's about 40 some minutes left, plus about probably 5 minutes for credits, so about 35. The last 5 minutes of them talking and everything else in between. So that's half hour, and then pretty good shot to hit that damn vehicle from all the way up there. There's a damn battle happening right then and there. But I'm trying to think of what else to talk about. It's one of those things where you're watching this film and it's sad because they don't really make films like this today. Meaning, big sprawling adventure movie where for the most part everything's done in camera, because either there's some kind of CGI or some kind of filter, or the fact that it's all filmed on digital, which to me does not look as good as 35mm. 35mm just feels like it has much more of a texture to it compared to digital. I didn't know all the filters and such. But all the filters you put in, the CGI stuff you put in, just doesn't look nearly as. Instead, it's going to feel more dated. It's going to look more dated in the long run. And it's just one of those things where how I feel on the one side, it's like he didn't come close to hitting Sean Connery. It's just do like this and move. Because as soon as he got to the other side where you couldn't fake it, he stops it right there. You ain't hitting me. You ain't gonna hit me. I mean, Harrison Ford, I mean, this is a guy that's just ran the gamut of movies throughout the years, with growing up being in films like American Gigolo. Not American Gigolo, that's a different movie. What was it? The George American Graffiti. American Graffiti, the Star Wars films. The Star Wars and Indiana Jones films alone made them such a giant star because that's six movies that made a huge amount of flicks. Two extremely popular trilogies that just carried all the box office and all the stuff throughout the years for him. So he was able to do Blade Runner, which didn't do well. Frantic, you do these other films. Working Girl, which was a surprise hit. And then into the 90s, you had, regarding Henry, you had The Fugitive, which was a huge hit. Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger. Even What Lies Beneath was a hit. A lot of successful ventures. Not all of them successful. I mean, he did Firewall. Not many people remember Firewall. I think Extraordinary Measures with him and Brendan Fraser. It's another one people don't really remember much of. But just get into this, the amount of stuff they do in camera, okay, you have a real tank, and we don't have this stuff, shoot out to get them out of the way. Just a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears to put into this stuff, and it shows on film. You could see it. There's a real tank with this real shit in front of it. And this wide shot right there. Boom. And the villains were fine. I mean, I would say the villains I liked a bit more in the first two films, but they're fine here. They did what they needed to do. A little bit of Discharge. Little old rocker do a whole lot of damage. Smoked them if you got them. How you like them apples? Again, you're not going to see this kind of stuff in the new Indiana Jones movie. I mean, again, Harrison Ford is 80-some years old. They talk about how, he did most of his own stunts. You think that's going to happen with the new one? And this guy's 80-some years old, and your body's a lot more brittle than it is? And I don't want him hurt. I always love that. One bullet through 5, 6 bodies. That's the way to do it. Oh yeah, and this will lead into hanging off on the side, and it's a really nice stunt work with, looks like he's ready to be pressed into the cliff wall. I guess I should mention the Nintendo games real quick. Well, not real quick, but there were 2 NES games I remember, which is confusing. They're from different companies, but they have the same cover of Indy riding the horse. So they look like the same game on the outside, but they're really 2 different. One's Taito, and the other, I forget what the other company was. One of them, where you kind of look like a sprite with a glow around you, and it's a side scroller where you take fall damage if you jump from too high of a height. Your whip at times can seem you have to find your whip, and at times it just seemed like use. I just didn't seem like a fun one. Then the other one was a bunch of kind of mini games put into one, where You could choose where you need to go, but at the same time, it doesn't tell you. You're supposed to do it in a certain order, otherwise you would fail. Because if you do it in one order, then you won't get this item you need to get. If you do in one order, you'll be too late to save Marcus Brody, or it'll be like. But the game doesn't tell you. You only find this out till after. That's a cool explosion. Nicely done. With all the dummies to fly around. But that's a cool explosion. But it's like the mini games. Like there was a puzzle game where you had those sliding puzzles where you have to make an image, which I hate those puzzles. I'm never ever good at those puzzles. I hate that stuff. I think that's supposed to represent in the cave when you gotta do it fast enough or the fire will engulf you. There's a bit where you're fighting on top of the tank. There's a bit where you're in the castle and it's a big old maze. You have to find out where to go in order to get your dad. Like I said, like lot of like, felt like mini games just put together. There's one that you're on a ship that represents the beginning of the movie. So depending on which game you like more, I guess that's up to the viewer. Ooh. Nice bullet to the head. Ricochet. Yeah, that was some really good stunt work. Sliding across those rocks. And like Victor Armstrong's like, hey, let me do some work so I can get paid. You know his archaeology? Oh, that's a way to get off. Oh shit. Ah, there goes Salah. There you go, now beat the shit out of him since this guy wants to be a backstabber. Just keep pounding his head right into the damn tank. That's a nice shot, that reaction. Now, this is definitely an ode to the serials of back in the day where something like this would be at the end and say, like, he's dead, he's far gone. But then next week you watch it, you see a shot where the guy jumped off or held on to something. And it's like, we didn't see that before, but again, it's, you seem like the person's dead, come back next week to see what happened next. Did he survive? How did he survive? So it seems like a little ode to that. So some people don't even know what serials are back in the day in the 30s and 40s, where there'd be a time shown in the theaters, and I don't know if it's every week, every month, like how it worked out. And I can't remember if you see them separately or if they're attached. Like there was a time where you watch a movie, and when you watch a movie, it'd be like there's a cartoon at the beginning, and there'd be like maybe a Three Stooges short or some other short, and then you did your feature presentation. So it's like maybe that's where they should start with movies today. Like you did these additional things. I would say only for the theater, but then people would be like, well, that'd be a waste if it's only for the theater. Just people would be like, hey, put them on online somewhere. He's just confused. How the hell did that happen? Nice, good emotional moment between the two. I lost you, boy. I thought this was nice. Like, you think his hat is gone, and then you always come back. There you go. Well, I have a feeling the end of the new one will be like somehow the last shot will be like Indiana Jones' hat or something lying there. Or something like that. Because I remember the one rumor of Indiana Jones 5, which I know they deny it, but they could always be full of it, or they did do it and then they're reshooting it because they realize how much they screwed up. But that the Dial of Destiny involves time travel, and that you travel back to the past, and that's why you have the younger Indiana Jones. And something happens where something is fixed and the older Indiana Jones disappears. And it's like, I don't know what they're doing. I saw the trailer and nothing in that trailer intrigued me. Not a single bit in that trailer gave me an iota of shits to give, to be honest. It really did not. It really did not. If you do, cool. God bless you. Ain't for me, I guess. It just ain't for me. It's not for me. That's just me. Okay. So it's like, what are we gonna do here? I do love this bit with the 3 challenges. Just, I don't know, I'm a sucker for booby traps in movies because there's that creativity of what creative way, just kind of like a slasher film, but an adventure quality. What creative way can we do to kill someone? What way can we do it that's not typical? So booby trap, you do this to do this, or you do that to cut the head off, or at like this here, penitent man pass. I think stuff like this is what got it a PG-13 rating. Because for the longest time there was no PG-13. By the time Temple of Doom came out, there was only PG, and people got pissed. Well, some parents, I should say, got pissed and saying, you know, its heart's being ripped out and all this stuff. How could this just be rated PG? It should be rated R. And then Steven Spielberg said, you know what, there should be something between. He got PG because he's a bid director, and they don't listen to the bid directors more than someone from bumfuck Idaho. I say. But eventually there was a PG-13. I think Red Dawn was one of the first to get PG-13. I don't know if it's the first, but it's one of the first. And then throughout PG-13 to various films. And this creates a good incentive for why Indy is going to get this grail. It's not for, you know, fortune and glory. Get his name in the history books. He gotta do this to save his life. And there'll be enough time to do it, but there's a way to do it. Again, I don't know why he would not believe in this when he dealt with the Ark of the Covenant. I mean, kind of in the same ballpark. You know what I mean? So, it should not be that much of a leap of faith. But yeah, I love this whole finale with the three challenges. I don't know how you could do it, but I always thought like if there was an adventure horror movie where some rich person had like this, not a, I don't know of an island, but like some thing where you had to go through all of these traps. I guess in a way they try to do that with Escape Room, those movies and other stuff, but Tube, I guess, is one movie that tried to do this as well. Just each room possibly had different traps in it, but I just kind of more like this adventure quality with filled wall to wall with traps. The penitent man will pass. Means kneel and bow. Kneel and you're humble before God. You kneel before God and you bow. Boom, boom. Now I think that's done with animation. I think animation, understandably so, so that it's not too dangerous. But I think those blades were animated. Which didn't make sense because it's pretty dangerous to have that with the actor and such. Any actor. The Word of God. Jehovah and starts with an I. Doesn't realize that at first. Yeah, I don't know what the deal was with the tarantula bit they mentioned. Yeah, I don't know why you would even have that to begin with. Oh, I like that. I didn't notice the guys are right behind Indy, like they're looking through the blaze. I didn't even notice that. I mean, it made sense, but I didn't even notice like you saw Allison Duty and the Donovan staring at him. And then there are there. And now the leap of faith pretty much. I mean, I guess maybe they would assume people would just go back and not worry about it or something. Or they would maybe try to climb the wall or something. Well, I mean, the picture literally has the guy walking in the air. So I don't know why he says nobody can jump this. Like, the picture literally has the guy walking, not jumping. Like, the picture literally has someone walking like this. Leap of faith. And it's all not a mirage, but it's a trick of the light. I don't know how else you want to put it. Like great camouflage. Just when the camera goes to the side, it's that nice reveal, like, oh, okay. Makes you wonder how the fuck they made it, though. They must have had some damn good painters. It kind of makes you go, who made all this shit? Like, how the hell did they make it from back in the day? It's not like they took a picture and said, okay, study the picture. There we go. That's a cool effect. The sand, the rubble on there. Again, aliens are too crazy, but at night, living here for 1,000 years, you know, what the hell did he eat? Sleep, piss, shit? That's fine and dandy. Like, that's no big deal, apparently. How dare you have aliens? Yeah, we have a night. You choose wisely or poorly, but, you know. Well, that's fine, you know. Again, I don't understand the argument. To me, they're both ridiculous, but they both work for the film. They both work for those respective movies. I don't know who this actor is, but he did a pretty good job. I think it's more than... He says how long it's been. 700 years ago. Okay, so not 1,000. 700 years. The bravest, most noticeable. Again, John Williams did a nice job. Like, he came up with a score that was unique to its own movie. Wasn't just regurgitation of the previous films, but it's also on its own a really good score. It has the feel of an Indiana Jones movie. It worked out very well, and that was the case for all, you know, the first three of these movies. Now all the Grail. Choose wisely. I always like this idea too. That you had to make sure you choose the right one. Either gives life or takes life. Chosen poorly. How the hell would you know, Alison Duty? How the... Duty or not duty? Like, how would you... Why choose that? Looks like you just chose randomly. I think Indiana Jones knows, and he's like, I'm not going to tell him squat. Let him sign his own grave. I mean, I guess if you had there's a lot of cups. I remember that was annoying in that Nintendo game. Like, you had to choose as well. And the thing is, like, if you follow the pattern right, you would get a drawing of the cup. But a lot of the cups will look the same, so it still felt like random as to you picking the right one. And if you choose, you instantly die, and then game over. You gotta start from the very beginning. So, God, that Nintendo game sucked. Well, both of those games sucked. There were other video games, Super Nintendo, Indiana Jones' Greatest Adventures, and things of that nature. Here we go. Turns to the Crypt Keeper. What are the tales from the crypt? That's stop motion animation, which, not that, but, you know, I like stop motion animation. I'm a sucker for it. It's a lost, not a lost art, but it's something they don't do a whole lot nowadays. He chose poorly. That's an understatement. The cup of a carpenter. Wisely. The Grail cannot pass beyond the Great Seal. That is the boundary and the price of immortality. So that's the thing. Even if the bad guys had gotten this without Indiana Jones, anything, they couldn't have done anything with it anyway. I mean, I guess maybe if they escaped out of the chasm, maybe they could have, I guess. But maybe the power would not have worked anymore. I know some people wondered, well, since he drank from the Grail and his father drank from the Grail, does that mean they're immortal? But I guess apparently, like, that's gone when you pass by it. But at the same time, he's healed. So it's not like they pass by and he's not healed anymore. So I guess he'll still be healed, but you just won't be immortal anymore. So it's like the rules kind of just whatever they need to be. Yes, you will still be healed, but you just won't be immortal anymore because whatever. I just think like whatever. Damn, everybody steered. Now, when did it get on the ground? I saw Sean Connery rise up with the cup in his hand, and why would he not have the cup in his hand? There's no reason why it would be on the ground. It's just on the ground for this scene to happen. Like, go back, like when Indy's getting his dad up, Sean Connery's holding the cup. Then all of a sudden it's on the ground. It just so that this didn't happen. Now, of course, the Grail will be lost in time. But it's also a culmination of the story is that Andy's become obsessed as his dad was, but his dad realizes that the Grail is not what matters, his son is what matters. Because we heard earlier about how, you were obsessed with it, I never understood it, and mom didn't either, and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, well, you could be as obsessed as your dad was in the past, or she is now, or the dad realizing after this adventure that Indiana is what matters the most. And that's why he would never call him Indiana until now. Don't call me Junior, don't call me that, but calls him by the name. Let it go. This is both of them letting it go. And the Grail's not what matters. This is what matters right here the most. I remember Quentin Tarantino was on a podcast and he mentioned how he enjoyed... I liked... It didn't seem like he was big on this movie, which I don't really understand. I know he was defending Temple of Doom. But did he say he liked Kingdom of Crystal Skull more than this? Which... I like Kingdom of Crystal Skull, but I don't think it's better than this. I don't. But I mean, Tarantino's one of those guys that I respect him as a filmmaker, and but it's one of the reasons I never bought his book because like everything, there's stuff you agree and disagree on, but it felt like he's just not a fan of the '80s. I mean, he once said the '80s is one of the worst decades for movies, which is completely mind blowing to me. But now he says now is the worst decade, but by then he said like the '50s and the '80s, which just makes no sense to me. But whatever. Illumination. And this is his life's work, but he realizes what's more important. Henry Jones Jr. I liked Indiana. Here's Sala. You were named after the dog. Which actually, it was from, I think, George Lucas's dog that Indiana came from the start. And like I said, I like Indiana Jones 4, but I can see why people would feel like they prefer this to just be the ending. 3 movies are pretty strong. And the way it ends here is like the father and son are reunited and they have a stronger bond. You have that rousing music. You know, they found the Holy Grail. They survived. And then this beautiful shot coming up where they go off into the sunset. And I guarantee you this was, they thought, the end of the franchise. Because this shot alone, the sun is setting on the character, on the franchise, on the trilogy. As the music rises up and the credits start, it'll cut to a more up close shot of the 4 of them. I mean, other than not having Marion there, you know, from the first movie, but you have the other 2, Sala and Marcus Brody. You got the dad, and going off into the sunset. Frank Marshall said to direct. Frank Marshall, I think, will go on to direct Congo. I think Arachnophobia. Yeah, there's that shot. Beautiful shot. Really beautiful shot. For many people, that's the end sight of the franchise. And I can see why. I can see why. But yeah, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade still works very, very well as an adventure story. It's still exciting. Victor Armstrong, who doubled a lot for Harrison Ford, would go on to be a director of a couple films, including Army of One with Dolph Lundgren, also known as Joshua Tree. And yeah, just a classic film that just holds up very well. Don't really have a lot of complaints about it. Again, Al's Duty and the villains were there. They were fine. I don't think they were as strong as the first 2, but they were fine. No, other than that, I mean, I step between Connery and Harrison Ford were great. Wonderful action set pieces. And a fitting end to the trilogy of these movies. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. And we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.